Am I happy with my life? Am I happy with where my life is going? Am I happy with who I am? Am I happy with people around me? Do I have a life or I'm just existing? Alright, this is mikesygula from TruthTheory.com and welcome to another video. So, let's talk a little bit more about personal development. So I think at some point in our lives, we should ask ourselves a series of questions. Am I happy with my life? Am I happy with where my life is going? Am I happy with who I am? Am I happy with people around me? Do I have a life or I'm just existing? So you are asking yourself these types of questions, and if you get no to at least one of these questions or most of them, then the next thing is, do I want to change that, or do I want to continue living the way I've been living for another couple of years or decades, right? And these are important things because these areas, they impact our overall happiness and everything in our lives. So if you are unhappy about these types of things, do you want to continue living in this way, right? Do you want to do another 10 years of that, 20 years of that? Probably not. So the next thing is, do I want to change that, or do I want to continue living in this way, right? Now, depending on which questions you got no to, think about what's the biggest priority, for example, right? So you have a couple of areas in your life, like your career, your relationships, your overall happiness, your own state of being, your health, physical, mental, things like that. Which of these areas requires most priority, right? So if you can ask yourself these questions, you get the answers, write down things starting from the highest priority to the lowest priority. Now, sometimes you might see that, okay, I'm not happy with my relationships, I'm not happy with my career, I'm not happy with several things, but the issue might not be these things. The issue might be that there is something that needs healing maybe inside of you that creates these patterns, attracts the job opportunities, attracts the partners, attracts friends, things like that. So if you're gonna think, I want to fix that by changing job or changing partner, and then you end up in the same scenario or similar scenario, the problem might not be with people or jobs, but with something that is creating the attraction. So you start attracting these situations over and over, and they're always the same, right? So are you able to really evaluate where is the problem? Some people not going to be able to do that. Sometimes it's pretty obvious. So let's say you are overweight and this is something you want to change, and this is pretty obvious for you, right? Because you can clearly see where is the thing that I want to change, right? But sometimes, like in the previous example, these things are not that obvious, and in such cases, especially if you keep attracting the same scenarios, right? So for example, you change your job, same kind of drama happens. You change your partner, same kind of drama happens. You change your friends, same kind of drama happens. Then there is something probably inside of you that is attracting these situations, some kind of pattern that needs maybe healing or balancing. And if you are not able to figure it out yourself, then it's better to start working with a coach, for example. So I'm doing coaching one-on-one. You can send me a message, email. Maybe I can help you to find a pattern. So something to think about. Sometimes we are not able to see the patterns as well, right? Another thing is when we are talking about prioritizing and picking which patterns are the biggest priority. Sometimes people don't understand how serious some challenge or pattern is, how seriously it affects everything. So for example, someone has some kind of let's say, I don't know, I knew this guy who had really bad temper, getting aggressive, having some kind of traumas, and that would unfold in the way that he would snap at people, whether it would be people, at work or in normal social gatherings sometimes, or same with the relationship, right? So basically, he even had a situation where like his wife left him because of that. So here you have a serious challenge that is basically causing many other things, whether it's your career, whether it's your relationships, whether it's something else. This thing should become your main priority in life to heal and fix, because if you are not able to heal or fix this thing, everything else, like your job, your career, your friendships, your relationships, they will get affected. If you want to think about some kind of analogy here, let's say you want to drive a car that has flat tire. First, you need to change the wheel before you can drive, right? So this person is basically trying to drive a car with a flat tire constantly, and it's always gonna cause issues. There's always gonna be some problem with that. So this is the thing that I see quite a lot, that sometimes people, because they have these kind of patterns or traumas, whatever it is, chronic complaining is another one, or lack of self-love or things like that, they have something that needs healing or balancing that is so normal to them, because maybe this was a pattern for like a decade or whole life or whatever, and they got used to it so much that they don't even understand severity of that challenge, and they prioritize other things in life. They think, I need to change the partner, I need to change the job, I gotta focus on making money now, running, chasing my money, dollars, whatever it is. And they keep ending up in similar scenarios over the years and years and years. A partner left me, I had a disagreement, blah, blah, blah. So because the pattern was so normal in their lives, they got used to it. They don't fully understand how serious it is. They don't even see on day-to-day basis how it affects everything, because from their perspective, they are not able to notice that anymore, or they notice like 5% or 10%, and that affects everything that they try to do. And what it means is that this particular area should become your number one priority in life. Because if you are not able to heal that aspect that stays with you throughout your life for years and years and years, and it's always bringing some results that are not beneficial, until you're gonna heal that, until that's gonna get balanced, there will always be similar scenarios. So everything else is secondary. Of course, you need to feed yourself, you need to eat, right? Everything, of course, these things are important, family, paying bills. But that should become one of your main priorities for another couple of months at least, or until it's done. Because nothing ever gonna work properly in your life until this thing is healed and fixed. It's like driving a car with a flat tire. Not gonna be very good. You're not gonna get very far. There's always gonna be some friction. There's always gonna be some issue. So a lot of people don't understand these things because they just get used to the pattern. It's normal to them. They know, I need to work on that a little bit. But they prioritize everything else and not the most important thing. Or they don't fully understand how this particular area is impacting everything else. So again, it's always good to maybe work with someone who is like a coach or a therapist or someone like that, who might help you to see the pattern and come up with some kind of solutions and techniques to heal that, overcome that, etc. And sometimes it's not gonna be just quick fix. Very often, if some pattern was around for many years, it's not gonna be just overnight fixing, You're gonna have to do some work, you're gonna have to change your habits, you're gonna have to put some time, and sometimes you're gonna fail, keep trying. Maybe at some point you're gonna get there, or you're gonna attract the right solution to your issue, things like that. Another thing is that sometimes people don't see the solution. So, you know, when I said about this guy who had issues with temper, getting aggressive, I talked about this example before, but basically he attracted someone like me who felt like, you know, I can help him with meditation, but he was very much against meditation because of his religious beliefs. And literally the guy attracted solution, but because of the problem that he's not able to see that this could be the fix, he just didn't follow. So another thing is that sometimes when we are embedded, we have these patterns. Someone from outside can notice them, can see them, and the solution might be something you don't even know how it's gonna look like, because you have no idea. And it's gonna keep coming, trying to knock. Hey, here's the solution to your problem, and you're ignoring it. You don't see. So another thing is that you need to start paying attention to everything, because if you have desire to heal, to fix, you think like, okay, I know what's the problem. Now I want to try to find solution, trying to do something about it. I'm looking for ways, looking for techniques, looking for opportunities, looking for therapists, whatever it is. Something's gonna start coming finally at some point, but you need to pay attention and not miss the opportunity as well. So this is another important thing. Sometimes what happens is also that someone has a pattern that creates some kind of result, and they are not able to fully see the pattern. So like I said before, sometimes it's so normal to you because you don't know anything better, you don't know anything different. This was maybe with you your whole life. You don't even see how it's damaging and causing trouble. So let me give you some examples. I've seen people who maybe are mean, let's say. They are very judgmental, they are critical, they have some level of authority, and like I don't know, you have a dad who is always critical towards his kids, or a friend who is, you know, or some boss at work who is always like putting people down because of his ego, because of his authority, whatever, right? But it's so normal that this person doesn't even think about it too much anymore. And then, you know, they still have normal relationships, but these people below them, they don't like that behavior. But the person, because of their authority and ego, doesn't want to even, you know, wouldn't allow to have criticism, right? Because they're maybe the boss or dad or someone, and kid not going to criticize dad, or employee not going to criticize boss. So you have a situation where someone with authority is creating some kind of harmful pattern or behavior towards others, but it's so normal to that person that they don't even think about it too much, and don't see that anymore. And then they wonder why these people avoid them, why they leave their jobs, or why the kids are not coming and visiting your dad, whatever it is. And you know, the problem is that they are causing that, but they are not able to see what they are causing because it's became normal to them. So you see, there are all sorts of different scenarios. Everyone is different, right? Sometimes it's not so simple to change your life around if you don't fully understand where is the problem. But you can start figuring it out by observing reactions. So if you constantly attract the same scenario, let's say a partner, I don't know, it's always like same kind of guys I attract, you know, I date different guys, they always like treat me badly, blah blah blah. Why is that? What's wrong with them? I changed for another guy, same scenario. Maybe there's something that is causing the attraction. They, for whatever reason, you are drawing the same types of scenarios, and sometimes it's lack of self-love, for example. So once you heal here, people start changing. So let's say you know where is the challenge, and more or less you understand how to kind of overcome that challenge. So let's say, I don't know, you want to lose weight. This is an easy thing to spot. Like, obviously some of the other patterns might not be so simple, but this is pretty obvious, right? This is your goal. You want to change that, right? So a couple of things. First thing is to always remember that every new habit takes some time to develop, typically the hardest is at the beginning, right? So I don't know, let's say with that losing weight thing, let's say, I don't know, you have a couple of options, right? You can join the gym, maybe you have a little bit of understanding how to train, and you need to understand that it will take a couple of weeks before it's gonna become comfortable, and at the beginning might be difficult, That's the first thing. So it's always important to remember to not get discouraged when you try to change a habit that at the beginning is difficult, because you get used to everything over some period of time, and it becomes easier at some point. So you need to understand that first couple of weeks it's gonna be difficult probably, and then it's gonna get easier. So don't get discouraged when trying to change something or build a new habit because of that initial block. So taking that example that I mentioned, someone wants to lose weight, you have a couple of options, right? If you can join gym on your own, but maybe you don't have the background, maybe you don't have the motivation, whatever. So what might be better, obviously maybe taking personal trainer, but maybe it's expensive, right? So it's always better to either have a group. This is I think one of the best options. So you join classes, for example, or you find some kind of sport where you have a group of people motivating themselves and pushing themselves. And this is always way better. So for me, for example, it was always like martial arts, because everyone is training hard, we all push each other, you have someone who's shouting or saying something, your trainer, someone pushing you to the max. Yes, it's not fun sometimes, it's not comfortable, but you get used to it, and it can be beneficial if you're very serious about changing the thing, right? And then you sometimes get to know new people, you help each other, so the whole experience becomes better because of that, and you have more motivation. Because if you would go on your own to the gym, today I feel a little bit lazy, blah blah, you're not gonna push yourself as much as if you have a group, for example. So some simple things to think about. Sometimes it's better like that, and remember that habits takes time. Sometimes at the beginning it's gonna be uncomfortable, but after a couple of weeks, a couple of months, things get easier, better. You become stronger, right? And I think meditation, I help people to learn how to meditate. I've been meditating for, I don't even remember how many years, 13, 15 years, something like that. It's a very long time. And people get discouraged in the first couple of times. They're gonna try 1 time, 3 times, 5 times, and this is not for me. It's boring, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. You need to give it a try for a few weeks, because this is the hardest period. This is when you try to learn new things. Everything was difficult before you learned that, right? So riding a bike was hard first couple of times, right? But now it's piece of cake, right? So things become habits, but you need to understand that there is always this initial period, which is the hard one pretty much. This is the difficult period normally, and you cannot give up in that period. This is where people often think, this is not for me, blah, blah, and they give up. Always keep that in mind, that once you go through that initial period, things can get a little bit easier later on. Okay, so let's now jump into relationships, romantic or friendships. So let's talk about friendships for a moment. Are you happy with people around you? I've had these periods in my life where I started evaluating my friendships. For example, years ago, when I was younger, I used to party a lot, and I moved abroad from my home country, Poland, and then I would come back, and sometimes I would meet my old friends and we would go and party hard. And it was always me that would pay for things, because I was living abroad, so I was making a little bit more money, of course, and they were always broke, right? And I didn't see the problem with that, because I was always generous. I tried to I'm coming back, let's go and have fun, it's on me, whatever. But I started noticing how I'm coming back, and these guys every week they have money on everything. They go spend money on drinking every weekend, weed, whatever they had. And you know, when I'm coming, no one has any money. It's always me who pays. Even though the week ago they just spent a fortune clubbing or something, right? So I started thinking about it, like, this is not fair. It's not about me being greedy. It's about them don't respecting the fact that someone is, you know, trying to just like hang out with old friends and be generous. And I started seeing how these evaluating these types of relationships and thinking these relationships are purely based on partying. This is how we got to become friends, and they don't seem to value the fact, you know, that good old friend is coming back, because a week ago they could spend money and now they count on him paying for everything as usual. And also I started changing a lot, you know, started evolving, started like partying less, started focusing more on other things like studying, like, you know, career, other things. So we started having gap between us, basically. They were still like in the mindset of just like, you know, partying and doing nothing else. And I started evaluating these things and started noticing how we are not so compatible anymore. And basically I started making decisions and changing friends. And this is something that unfortunately at some points I think people should think about, because, you know, as they say, you are an average of whatever 5 people you hang out with or something like that. It's super important who you hang out with, because you influence each other. They influence you, you influence them. You learn good things from them, you learn bad things from them. You think this is justified because your friend is doing that. Things like that, you know. If you have a bunch of friends and you want something else, and every week you go out with them and it's meant to be 2, 3, 4 beers, and it's end up whole night when you wake up next day depressed, hangovered, and it's always the same, you know, this is what you want to continue doing. Maybe time to start evaluating these friendships and changing some of these things. So for example, you know, I have a bunch of very good friends that I've been friends with for many years, and even though everyone is in a different part of their world, we catch up every few weeks, have a call, and we maintain these friendships. So it's really, really important to sometimes evaluate some of these things. Remember that over time, the real friends stay, and the ones that maybe were temporary or maybe whatever, they're gonna probably go at some point. So another thing is romantic relationships, and there are a couple of things here. So for example, are you happy with the way your romantic relationship is going with your partner? Maybe there are some things that you don't like how they are doing, and you ask them maybe to like change, and they are not doing anything about it. This is a feedback. Is it valid even what you ask them to do? You know, maybe it's your own bias, and maybe there's nothing wrong about that. So many of these things, very often, like the initial thing, initial glue, initial intention that formed relationship, this could have been something that was superficial, whatever, you just had like some physical attraction for a moment, you know, and then it's very difficult to have a healthy long-term relationship if the basis wasn't, the fundamental elements were not strong, right? So many things to evaluate here, but definitely if you see something is not going well, it's been like that for a while, and you keep improving, you're trying, you go maybe to some counseling, therapies, whatever, you try to improve things, then is it something you want to continue or not, right? How difficult it is to stop. Sometimes people have everything together, you know, marriage, house together, kids together, things like that, and it becomes more comfortable to continue unhappy marriage to some people than to go have a divorce. So many things to evaluate, but if something is not going well for a while and you try many things and it's always the same, and you think like, oh, you know, we're gonna continue like that for another 10-20 years, I don't know, think about that, and don't think about it too late, when it's already too late. because I've seen these types of situations. Someone was like, no, I don't want to go for a divorce because whatever, because my fate says this is a bad thing, or what my family gonna think about me, whatever was gonna be difficult to split the house or something like that. And then 10 years later they finally decide to do it. You could have done it 10 years earlier. So, you know, every case is different, but something to think about. Okay, let's say you have some kind of bad habit, drinking, and you keep telling yourself, I need to reduce alcohol. You go out and you're gonna think, I'm just gonna have 2 beers or whatever, and after 2 beers you're gonna be like, fuck that, let's have a couple of shots. Boom, same shit every week. So you're basically, you know, lying to yourself. You're delusional, or maybe not, I don't know, but you gotta start thinking about these things, because often some people who really have these types of habits developed, it's not gonna work for them, that they're gonna say, this weekend I'm gonna have only 2 beers and I'm going home. It's not gonna work. You have 2 options. You either keep lying to yourself and repeating the same scenario, or you change everything completely. And that means you're probably gonna have to give up alcohol entirely if it's causing issues. You always think you're gonna have one thing and it's ended up something different. The only real solution would be to quit completely. And you think, but I like to get drunk a bit. It gets easy once you forget about it completely. Trust me. I used to be a hardcore party guy, and now I don't drink at all, and I don't see a problem at all, and I feel really good. I don't have hangovers, you know, I don't waste money, my health is better, and I found ways to occupy myself and my time and have fun without need to drink. So you gotta evaluate how serious you are about these things, about the change, and how badly it affects you, because 50-50 probably not gonna work. You're gonna have to make a decision to completely change, and then very often what it means is that you're gonna have to change a lot of things. For example, people you hang out with who are, you know, dragging you to drink or whatever, everything. So maybe replacing bad habit with good habits, something healthier instead, you know, having a different type of hobby instead of clubbing or going out, maybe, you know, kind of different environment, different people. So something to think about, but it's often like that. It's not gonna work. 50-50 for many people, not gonna work, and they need to just give up completely, for example. Okay, so let's talk about career for a moment. This is a big thing for most people, obviously. Many people are unhappy about the types of jobs they have, or their careers, or, you know, things like that. And keep in mind that you spend most of your time at work, or a lot of your time, right? It's like whatever, third of your time, then you sleep, third of your time, and then the rest is like commute, chores, blah blah blah. So it's a pretty important thing, and if you're unhappy about it constantly, that's not good. So what I see a lot is that people are afraid to change jobs, for example, because they are afraid that maybe the new job's gonna be even worse, and they're gonna have to learn some complex things they don't want to learn, maybe they're not gonna fit in, whatever. But they still keep complaining all the time about how crappy and shitty their job is. So you want to keep complaining forever, or you want to change something? First thing, right? This is how I see things. So, for example, this one guy, I met him some time ago. He was like complaining all the time about like how he's changing jobs, and everywhere he goes, people try to rip him off. You know, at work they demand more from him than he gets paid for, things like that. So this type of person, for example, would be afraid to change for a different job, because again, they're gonna get even worse and things like that. And then what I've learned is that this guy is actually revealed that he's like, when he had previous jobs, he would be like really lazy, or he would pretend he's doing something but wasn't doing it properly, or would cut corners or waste time on something just to, have time go by. Or then he would go on welfare or something, go on holidays, or job seekers allowance or something like that, and spend that money on holidays and things like that. So I think the reason why this guy attracts these types of situations because of lack of integrity. So he cuts corners everywhere. He is not really fulfilling his duties properly, and then he keeps attracting scenarios that, look the way they look. If you honestly, you think you're doing your best at work, and I don't know, you feel like they don't value your work, or you do better and you should get paid more, whatever, and you honestly, you can say that you do things well, and you do your best always, and you work hard, and you deserve better, and you are honest with yourself, you really mean that this is like honest work, you really do your best. Once you're gonna change your job, for example, you have very high chance to attract even better opportunity. Honestly, I think this is how it often works for people. The ones that end up in worse places are the ones who are not very good, or they didn't put effort, they were like cheating, cutting corners, doing something not exactly how this should be done, things like that. That's why they end up in those things. Sometimes what happens is that there is even better opportunity for you waiting, and you're gonna end up in a job that maybe is not as good for a period of time, because maybe this is exactly the transitioning period, or maybe it should allow you to have a little bit more free time for the hobbies or other things which gonna be more important, So for example, sometimes someone ends up in an average job and had way better jobs before, and they changed and ended up in something average, but it turns out that over a couple of months there is a new career or business or something that is unfolding for them. And this job is perfect because it's not so demanding, so they have more time to move into a new thing. So, everything is different for different people. Everyone's circumstances are unique. So, I hope I'm giving you some good ideas here. Let me know in the comments what you think about this stuff. Ask yourself these questions, and if you get no, do you want to change that or not? If you want to change that, can you do it on your own? If yes, try. If not, maybe get help. And I'm doing coaching one-on-one, where sometimes I'm helping people with these types of things as well. So get in touch, send me an email. It's coaching@truththeory.com, or go to truththeory.com/coaching. Have a look what's going on there, and maybe we can work together, maybe not, who knows. But let me know what you think about this video. If this stuff resonates, please share this video with others, give it a like please. And subscribe if you're new here, right? Come on, subscribe. Subscribe, that button, click that button. Get that bell, ping ping, so you get notified about new cool videos from this funny guy with this shitty Polish accent. Alright, thanks for watching, till next time.